You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, not joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy, unfortunately. Kathy was admitted to the hospital yesterday. She has a procedure that is scheduled for tomorrow. And hopefully she'll be back with us sometime over the weekend and home before that. All right, now this is a podcast episode, or a topic on the podcast, I should say, that I really don't want to get into, but I feel I must. I've got to do this because these never-Trumpers, they've tried scheme after scheme, plot after plot, the fake dossier, Stormy Daniels, the Mueller report, impeachment 1, impeachment 2. It never stops, right? It never stops. And everything they've done has failed. And it's failed because not just because of Donald Trump's popularity. We love him. I love him. You love him. He's a squeaky clean Marine. He's never done anything wrong. They've got nothing on the guy. And now they've stumbled upon something that has the possibility of doing tremendous damage to the MAGA movement. And it is so important for all of us who are supporters of President Trump and the MAGA movement to get this story out. And that's why I'm going to talk about it here in the first segment of the podcast. I really didn't want to. I talked about this at length on the radio today, and I'm watching what's going on right now among a lot of MAGA people, and they just don't get how they're being played. And of course, what I'm talking about is what's happening with Tulsi Gabbard. You know, Tulsi Gabbard, a lifelong Democrat, now has left the Democrat Party, not to become a Republican, but to become an independent. She's an independent. And tonight, she's going to be campaigning with Kari Lake in Arizona. How did that happen? How do you go from being a Green New Deal, ban the guns person, that's just the beginning of her liberalism, just a couple examples of it, to being out there on the campaign trail with the future of the MAGA movement, the person who may be our second MAGA president, our second MAGA vice president, certainly the MAGA governor of Arizona, Kari Lake. The Never-Trumpers have devised a plan, and here is the plan. And it's a plan that can work. And the reason I say that it can work is not because I'm being defeatist. I'm not defeatist. But I'm seeing how Tulsi Gabbard, for reasons I don't understand, is convincing people that she's on our side now, that she's fed up with Democrat policies, when I have yet to see that proven to me. She went through a list of things in her announcement that she was leaving the Democrat Party, but they were vague generalities. I support the Second Amendment. I support border security. She didn't get specific. Well, she supports the Second Amendment, but does she still support gun confiscation of whatever she deems to be an assault weapon? She says we need to have border security. Does that mean she agrees with President Trump that the wall needs to be completed? She said very generic, really things on the outside that no one would disagree with that's a Republican on the issue without getting specific. She's done, I don't know how many interviews in the last week and a half, and no one's delved into any of these details with her. And what she's doing now is she is using the clout of people like Kari Lake, this is what she's doing tonight, to gain credibility for herself among MAGA people that she's one of us. If Tulsi Gabbard was one of us, she would have left the Democrat Party not to become an independent, but to become a Republican, and she'd be walking around with a Make America Great Again hat on. Is she doing either of those things? I don't think so. And when this first came out, this story about Tulsi Gabbard leaving the Democrat Party, she's not Brandon Straka. He left, Straka left, and look what he did. Immediately became a Republican. That's not what Tulsi Gabbard's doing. Kathy hit this right on the head when this story first came out about her. What she plans on doing, Tulsi Gabbard, is running around, getting involved with a lot of great MAGA people, using their clout to prop herself up, gather support. It might be a fringe support, but gather support and go out and run as an independent. And she's going to run as an independent who's fed up with the Democrat Party. And the way I described it on the radio today is this is what her plan is. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, and I'll tell you why it may not be successful, but it could be successful because people are falling for her. She wants to run as a third-party independent. That's a losing proposition. But her point of that would not be to win the election. Her point would be to take votes away from Donald Trump in 2024. Causing him to lose to whoever the Democrats put up. See, I think Tulsi Gabbard is part of a plot not just to stop Trump from winning in 2024, but to stop Biden from running. They want to find someone else, Governor Newsom, whoever it is, I don't know, have them run as a Democrat, and she's going to shave votes away from Donald Trump in 2024. And whoever the Democrats put up in that instance will win. Remember, Bill Clinton won in 93. It was a three-way race. Ross Perot, Bill Clinton, and George H.W. Bush. And Ross Perot took votes away mostly from George H.W. Bush, George W.'s father. And since we've started talking about this, I really wonder. I was just a kid. It was my first presidential election I was old enough to vote in. Back in that 93 race. And I'm starting to wonder now, who was behind Ross Perot? What was Ross Perot really about? He was out there attacking Clinton a lot. I remember Ross Perot. Some of you may remember. A lot of you may not be old enough. He did something that was unheard of at the time. He actually bought television infomercial time. And if I remember correctly, was it on the networks? 30 minutes. And I remember he talked about Bill Clinton's failures in Arkansas. So he was out there attacking the Democrat more so than the Republican. So who was really behind Ross Perot, and why did Ross Perot really win? And Ross Perot, he ran, then he dropped out. And he was out of the race for a while, and then he started running again, and then we got Bill Clinton. And look at that. Ross Perot gave us Bill Clinton. And I'm starting to think now, I'm going to start looking into Ross Perot. I really am. If any of you have information on this, send it to me on social media. Go to my website, briancraigshow.com, and email it to me. But I'm starting to think now, I haven't thought about this in years, and it's not at the top of my list of things until now. But now that Tulsi Gabbard's out there causing problems for us, it got me thinking about Ross Perot. Did the Democrats put him up to it? Did some Republicans that didn't like H.W. Bush put him up to it? What was behind that run? Everyone knows you can't win as a third party. You could take votes away from people. Now, Steve brought up something I had forgotten about here in Florida in 2000. Remember Bush-Gore in 2000. Very close race, couple hundred vote difference in Florida. Remember that? The Florida recount and all of that. It was an amazing, exciting time. But the reason that happened, there's a factor in that people forgot about. And Steve reminded me today, Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader was used to be a famous guy. A lot of you may not remember Ralph Nader, but he used to be a very famous guy. He was billed as a consumer advocate. I don't know. Some 1970s, early 80s retread has been. But he ran as a third-party independent, and I want to say off the top of my head, he ran as a Green Party candidate. He wasn't on the ballot everywhere. He had no hope for winning. But here in the state of Florida, he got about 80,000 votes. And those were votes that would have gone, for the most part, to Al Gore, because Ralph Nader's a liberal lunatic. He took votes from Al Gore, and Bush came into victory. In fact, in all of the counting in Florida, G.W. Bush was always ahead. There was not a single count that did not have him ahead. No matter how narrow it was, he was always ahead. So now I'm starting to wonder, who was really behind Ralph Nader? Was it the Bush family? Was it the Republican establishment? It wouldn't surprise me at all. And, I could if they were behind Ralph Nader in 2000, that makes perfect sense. And they took a page for what happened to them in 92 for that, Bill Clinton, the election was in November 92, that resulted in H.W. Bush losing. Understand here? This is a tried and tested, proven technique. This third party run. And that's what's happening with Tulsi Gabbard. And what has me concerned about it is so many people are falling for it. And some people are really upset with me about this. Oh, how can you do this? Give her a chance. Let's say she's even on the up and up. Shouldn't we be a little bit cautious? Even if she's telling the truth, should we not be a little bit cautious of Tulsi Gabbard? Why do we need her? We're doing great. This country is a wreck because of the Democrats' failed leadership and this checked out president we have. Why do we need her? What is she really offering? How is she going to help the great Kari Lake in Arizona? Are you kidding me? Come on. There might be some small-time gain here or there in a race, but overall, it's a disaster to bring her in. And now she's gaining credibility because you can already see the writing on the wall. Kari Lake is expected to win. She's expected to win. She's running against this idiot. Kari Lake is expected to win. Now when Kari Lake wins, they're going to say, well, yeah, she won. But would she have won if Tulsi Gabbard didn't go to Arizona and campaign for? They're going to steal Kari Lake's party from her. They're going to say, Kari Lake didn't win this. Tulsi Gabbard won it for her. Tulsi Gabbard won it for her, not Kari Lake. And she's going to be credited with the victory. Wow. That Tulsi Gabbard endorsement means something, doesn't it? That's what they're going to do, people. Mark my words on it. Mark my words on that. This is the only time these never-Trumpers have had a scheme that had any hope of possibly working. So what are we going to do about it? Well, all we can do about it is let people know about it so they won't get wrapped up in this new cult, the cult of Tulsi Gabbard. That's right. I'm a never Tulsi. If you want to call me a never Tulsi, I am fine with that. Look up her positions. She's been liberal on everything her whole life. Now, a lot of people used to be Democrats, right? Kari Lake used to be a Democrat. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. Ronald Reagan used to be a Democrat. But not when they were holding office, not when they were politicians. Their transformations happened before. Tulsi Gabbard is running an angle here. And I'm really upset. Some people say, oh, you're obsessing. I've heard this from people. You're obsessing over Tulsi Gabbard. Because we have this beautiful movement, the MAGA movement, and we have this Trojan horse spy coming in, and she has the ability to destroy the movement because so many good conservative MAGA people are buying her line, which I don't buy at all. Now, if President Trump comes out and starts saying positive things about Tulsi Gabbard, we'll have to go along with what President Trump says. He understands the big picture. He knows things that are going on behind the scenes that we do not know about. And if President Trump comes out and supports Tulsi Gabbard, well, I'll do what President Trump tells me to do. I'm going to follow Donald Trump no matter what he says because he's the leader of this movement and he's the only one that could bring this movement to victory, the MAGA movement. So if he feels that Tulsi Gabbard can help him do that, well, we've got to trust him. But I haven't seen President Trump do that yet. Have you? Listen, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm Brian, sadly not joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back after this.
It's the end of World War I, but for Roland, conflict runs deeper. History fiction lovers won't want to miss The Endin' from author William Stephen Frank. Available on Amazon, Roland has dedicated his life to seeking peace in the wake of World War I. At the Treaty of Versailles, he meets Jonathan, a man who believes he's the heir to a long-lost line named Vianden, making him the owner of the castle Vianden and its surrounding village in Luxembourg. Follow his story where the pursuit of peace meets the pursuit of vengeance. Vianden, a 20th century historical fiction novel from author William Stephen Frank. Available in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. Order your copy today on Amazon. Want to know where all the bodies are buried? Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool. Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob. Welcome to Mob-Ammy Beach. This book is a fictionalized account of Miltenberg working at a mob-owned Miami Beach hotel in the 70s. If you're a fan of The Godfather, Goodfellas, or The Sopranos, you will love this story that's full of colorful characters and wisecracking wise guys. It's a story with everything from Playboy bunnies and weaponized parrots to shattering the glass ceiling and getting away with murder, all in paradise. This is a wise guy tale you've never heard. Surrounded by pools, the trick for Bobby Moskowitz was not slipping in the one thicker than water. Bobby lived to tell the tales, and now you can read all about it. The funniest mob novel since Jimmy Breslin's The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool, from author Robert Allen Miltenberg, available on Amazon. Order your copy right now. Do you love the smell of a freshly baked batch of cookies? Fill your kitchen with delicious baked goods and pastries from RoyalQueensBaking.com. Baking is a fun pastime that brings the whole family together. Royal Queens Baking has every supply you need to create magical and yummy memories with your family and friends. Browse their vast inventory of the best natural organic-based baking products, from organic flours and sugars to ready-to-bake organic mixes. Royal Queens Baking is stocked with easy ways to enjoy home-baked goods with people you love. Head to RoyalQueensBaking.com and prepare for a treat. RoyalQueensBaking.com, supplying your every baking need. Uplift your vibes and elevate your frequency with Vibing with Purpose. Vibing with Purpose is a spiritual botanica and magical tools and goodie shop. If you need a self-care kit, full moon box, mental health gift box, or need help removing bad vibes and energy from you, your children, or home, they got you covered. If you're looking for help on pampering yourself or a friend and any loved one's birthday or anniversary, they can help. They carry sprays, candles, crystals, jewelry, sage, spa kits, and gift boxes. Don't let hard times or bad vibes weigh you down. Let Vibing with Purpose get your life back on track. They ship fast within just 2 days of ordering to get all their handmade goods to you quickly. Use the promo code SHOP25 and save 25% off your order. Start vibing right now online at vibingwithpurpose.com or on Etsy, etsy.com/shop/vibingwithpurpose.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. During the break, I got a call from Kathy from the hospital. She's having a procedure tomorrow late in the day. So that's good news. We're getting all positive information involving Kathy. And I know some of you are wondering, why am I not at the hospital? Typically, especially now, the hospitals have, the one she's in, very liberal, very, very strict COVID protocols, and it's insane. They don't like people lurking around the hospital except when you have to be there. But I will be there when she has her procedure tomorrow and everything. But they don't like you lurking around all day at the hospitals like in the old days. So it's a little frustrating, but it sadly is the way that it is. All right, well, welcome back, everyone, and thank you for all the well wishes that you've given me for Kathy. Those of you that have been longtime listeners know a little bit about our background. Those of you that don't know about Kathy's health problems. Kathy has a pretty serious health condition that she's had since we got married. And she's been in the hospital many, many times, although not for a long time. And this is just part of what happens with the condition she has, with the illness she has. What is minor for you or me is elevated to a hospitalization oftentimes because of all the different medications that she's on. Each month, Kathy gets a box of medication that is massive. It's a huge box of medication. She has to mix medication each and every day, and Kathy has a medication connected to a pump that has a tube that goes into her chest directly into her heart, and it is connected 24 hours a day. And about every minute, I can't remember the exact timing of it, maybe a minute and 15 seconds. Every about minute and 15 seconds, medicine is pumped directly into her heart from this pump outside her body, and the medication, she has to mix it each day, and it is a pretty involved process. And this massive box of medication we get every month for this is huge, and it's only one of the medications that she's on. And when she's in the hospital, she has a specialist that's at a hospital. She has to go to a particular hospital that's actually very far from the house because she sees a top expert in the nation, a top specialist in the whole country for the condition that she has. So that is what's going on. Kathy doesn't want me to get into all the details of what's going on in the hospital right now, but I think she's going to be home by the end of the week. I'm hoping by Saturday or Sunday is what we are hoping for. And I know you guys are too. So thank you for all the prayers and all the messages I've gotten from people. And, I just want to say this last thing or two on Tulsi Gabbard. There's a big trend in this country of people walking away from the Democrat Party. And that may be one of the reasons people are embracing Tulsi Gabbard. But she's not one of those people. She is not a walk-away person. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. She's got to prove it to us. I want to see her prove it to us. And she is becoming to a point where she's doing this rally tonight in Arizona with the great Carrie Lake. We're getting to the point now where Tulsi Gabbard, think about this, guys. Tulsi Gabbard, they might have her do mini rallies. It's not that far-fetched. I was at that DeSantis rally on Sunday at Wings Plus here in Florida in Coral Springs. A couple thousand people easy showed up to that. They're going to start to do that at some point, somewhere with Tulsi Gabbard. At least it's on their plans. And I know a lot of people say, well, MAGA will never vote for this third-party Tulsi Gabbard over Trump. While that is true, there are a lot of Republican voters who don't like Donald Trump. I don't know why. For the life of me, I do not understand why every Republican is not behind Donald Trump. I'm not talking about these Washington people that have all these secret deals going on. I'm talking about, rank and file, just regular people like us. Why are they? And there's a lot of them, and too many of them. And you give them another alternative, and they will shave votes away from Donald Trump in 2024. I'm telling you. And I'm going to stay on top of this until Donald Trump tells us to lay off Tulsi, that she's all right, or she proves herself. But I don't know if she can prove herself. Can she prove herself to you? Now, there's a new story out involving Jill Biden. This is amazing. And there's a story on Fox that is, ripped out of the pages of the New York Times. Listen to this. The New York Times reported on Sunday that following Biden's latest solo press conference in January, wow, it's been that long, January? Coming up on Christmas here. Halloween's just right around the corner. The New York Times reported on Sunday that following Biden's latest solo press conference in January, where he did not follow then Press Secretary Jen Psaki's cue to wrap it up, the First Lady tore into top White House officials by demanding to know why no one intervened. Why no one intervened? But how can you go on live television and intervene and take the president of the United States off the stage from a press conference, huh? Several GOP lawmakers shared their thoughts on the report with Fox News. They said Joe Biden knows a train wreck when she sees one. Apparently, the First Lady knows a train wreck when she sees one, says one congressman. I think everybody in the White House is concerned that Biden will accidentally reveal the Biden-Harris administration's true agenda. Senator Marsha Blackburn who's been on this program, by the way, told Fox News that it is apparent that Biden is not in control of the West Wing. The American people are watching the situation with Biden very closely. So are other world leaders, Blackburn said in a statement. It's apparent he's not in control of the White House. His staff are handling everything. There's no doubt about that. Ronnie Jackson accused the First Lady and senior White House staff of running a cover-up operation. You know, when the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, take over Congress, we're promised hearings in both houses, right? What hearing do you want first? I think there should be a hearing, an immediate hearing, and a pretty serious hearing about the fitness of Joe Biden. You know, we've got this situation going on right now with China. They're about to make this guy over there president for life. He gave this long speech bragging about taking back Taiwan. You know what? He'll do it with Biden around. You know, at this point in time, there are people running the government that are not elected officials. They tell themselves all kinds of things. They've said forever, and I don't know how true this is, but I've heard this my whole life, and I know many of you have heard this, that Woodrow Wilson had a stroke and his wife ran the country for the last year of office. Even if that were true, back in that period of time, the United States was not the superpower of the world or the number one economy in the world either. The United States had a much smaller role and influence over the planet than it does today. And even though then it would have been wrong for her to do so, it wasn't as dangerous as it is today to be in that situation. But they may tell, there's precedent for this. No, they were breaking the law back then too with Woodrow Wilson, all right? We are a country without a leader. Now, that's not to say there haven't been presidents that let their staff run things. I don't think Obama was too involved with things. Bill Clinton was pretty tied up with Monica Lewinsky and others, and we all know about that. But they still were there, alert, and in charge when they wanted to be. And the story that Joe Biden was upset they didn't pull Joe off stage tells us that he is not running this country at all. It's illegal and it's dangerous. One of the reasons the economy has tanked as bad as it has is not only because of the failed policies. That's a big part of it, right? And all this spending. What causes inflation is government spending. So all of this government spending in Ukraine and elsewhere, that's caused inflation. But maybe what the biggest cause of the economic trouble we are having in the country is the fact that the markets know and the world knows that America doesn't have a leader right now. This country is being run not by any single any single person. The country is being run by little groups. This group runs the West Wing. This group runs that agency. This group's running the Pentagon. The government is being run by a bunch of little committees. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. And I think that we most definitely, without question, need to have a congressional committee looking into that. Who's running the country? Who's been giving orders? Has Jill been giving orders? Do you think Jill's been giving orders? I bet she has. In fact, I would be shocked if she had not been giving orders. Wouldn't you? Absolutely. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, please go to my website, briancraigshow.com. There's a link on my website, briancraigshow.com, that'll take you to the Patreon page. It explains everything. There's also a link to my Patreon page in the description of this episode. And there are perks to becoming Patreon supporters. You'll see them listed there and explained to you. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode. The names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, and Rome, Wisconsin. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. And again, if you'd like to support the program, please become a Patreon supporter. Go to my website, briancraigshow.com, or look in the description of this episode. You will see a link there. You know, there's this story about Bubba Wallace roughing up this driver. And I don't know too much about NASCAR. I don't find it interesting. Watching guys drive at a couple hundred miles an hour around in circles is pretty boring to me. It was exciting when President Trump took the Beast as the pace car. That was exciting, but typically not too interested. But I've seen Bubba Wallace. He's apologizing. He got in this fight. People are saying things. And in all of these stories of Bubba Wallace this week, I haven't seen anyone talking about that time he lied and said there was a noose hanging from his garage. And, remember that? Bubba Wallace was out there talking about that noose hanging. And some investigations went on. It was not a noose, okay? It was some type of pulley system that had been put in the garage, and it was done in a loop fashion, and it was in all the bays and all the garages at the whole thing. But they had this whole noose thing going on. And does he still stand by that, by the way? Did he ever say, okay, that was not a noose? This villainization that goes on of white people by minorities. I mean, enough, okay? We are in a post-racial society. I know the media, I know Hollywood, I know the Democrats always want to bring us into a racial conflict over everything, but this is a post-racial society. People do not care about such things anymore, except for the left, okay? They don't care about such things anymore. And the left, they use this. I remember, Obama. Oh, look, if I had a son, he'd look like, come on. How are you advancing this country anywhere but backwards when you continue to beat people over the head with this race card nonsense? We are in a post-racial society, and it's time to move on. And I'll tell you this, Bubba Wallace, from what I understand, he's not much of a racer. How many races has he won? 1, 2? Less than 5? Maybe 5 out of 100 and what? I don't know what kind of racer that makes him, but I do know this. Bubba Wallace knew that wasn't a noose in his garage a couple years back, but he played it up anyway. He played the race card. Why? Because he's a mediocre driver. It's just like that teacher pretending to be transgender up in New York with the fake, breast that are ridiculously large. What that guy's doing, he's not transgender. What that guy's doing is he's daring the school to fire him. And if they fire him, he'll say they're transphobic. And then he'll get a big lawsuit payout. And then he'll be living all fancy. That's what he's up to. That's what Bubba Wallace did with that news story. He's a mediocre driver. He can't make it. So he played the race card to get sponsors, to keep sponsors, and to threaten people to leave him alone. And we see stories like this almost each and every day. And I'm very surprised that the media hasn't gone back to that story since Bubba Wallace has been in the news all week. I guess since it was exposed as fake, they don't feel the need to go back and revisit it because it doesn't fit the narrative. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to take off for today. Thanks for joining me. And again, thank you for all your prayers for Kathy. She is doing better. She's having a procedure tomorrow. And when it's all over, she may tell you everything that's going on. But until she decides to, I'm not. But thank you so much for all your well wishes. I'm Brian Craig, without my wife and co-host Kathy today. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And I will talk to you next time.
Parents, are you looking for positive children's books to uplift and encourage your child? Boys and girls ages 4 to 8 will love the story and illustrations from I Can Be Great, the Beatitudes for Kids. That's B, spelled B-E-E. Brought to you by author Jacqueline Harris. Beautifully crafted with valuable moral lessons and a charming collection of 36 colorful illustrations, I Can Be Great is the perfect book for any parent who wants to bring valuable lessons into their child's life. Teach your child important life lessons about bravery, creativity, honesty, kindness, and being their best. It's a great book for any child's bookshelf, and your kids will read it again and again. Give your kids a book that will inspire and motivate them. It's also perfect for teachers for classroom reading. I Can Be Great, the Beatitudes for Kids by author Jacqueline Harris. Available right now on Amazon. Pick up your copy today.